Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck. Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck.
You know what that was, Brian?
What?
That was a USC fight song.
Ah, yes, I knew that.
I know that you're a big football fan.
Very.
But you're
more pro.
You're pro,
Yeah.
right? So lifelong.
But USC is an important team for me because they were very nice to us. They would come down to the show, and we had Slash on one time, and we surprised him with the entire USC marching band.
Yes, you did.
Out back. Mm-hmm. Took Slash out there, had a guitar ready for them, and he played with the USC. He loved that.
And you know, they're not just known as the USC marching band.
Mm-mm.
They're known as the Spirit of Troy.
That's right. You know, I was actually in a halftime show wearing the band's uniform.
Of course you were.
Yeah.
No, I believe it.
They invited us to do, and they gave us tubas. And the great director came up. He was such a sweet man, and he goes, "Okay, here's what we want you to do." Because I used to be in marching band in high school, and they haven't taught us anything.
Sure.
He goes, "I want you guys to screw up." Okay, we can handle that.
And that's not a note he gives many people.
That's right.
That's good.
Because they're so in sync.
That's good. Well, okay.
And so I reached up. The first thing I did, because we had tubas, and loosened the big bell on the tuba. So during the show, they went this way. We're going that way. We're looking like idiots. And there was one time, you know, where they kind of do that. I did that, and the bell falls off, and I'm trying to pick it up and screw. It was just so much fun.
That's good comedy.
Yeah, I was just wondering, well, what if you're a fan of you have season tickets, you come to every game, and like, what happened? They must have just been so confused.
Oh, I love that. Well, yes, obviously longtime USC fan, former SC alum, and current professor, but I've spent a lot of time in the Coliseum. But the thing I love about the Coliseum, 2 Olympics have been there.
Right.
And, you know, I don't know, have you got a little bit of Olympic fever here? In 2028, it'll be back here in Los Angeles again, so we got that to look forward to. And I know we're kind of both, like, sports fans. You're a lifelong Chicago Bears fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this year, we're going to go all the way.
I'm sure that's true, Brian.
I saw a smirk on his face.
No, not at all.
Did you?
Not even remotely.
I said something.
No. But here's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Did I have this right? You played football yourself growing up.
I played 7 years of it, 3 years in Pop Warner.
Wow.
And 4 years every year playing football in high school. And my senior year, we were one game away. We won conference, we won this, we won that. Yeah. And we were one game away. If we would have won that game, we would have played state. We would have gone to state and played in an actual field with AstroTurf. Yeah, right. It was at Illinois State.
It was within grasp.
But we lost that game. And I went, okay, hold for Trey's punchline. I went both ways.
I'm not even going to touch that.
Okay, good. Because our school was so small. There were a few of us that played both offense and defense.
Okay, sure.
So I was wide receiver, tight end, and then I was defensive end. So, but that wasn't the end of my very exhausting Friday night, because at halftime of our games, when the rest of the team is going down to the locker room to get yelled at by the coach and eat orange wedges, 3 of us, Dan, who you know, my best friend, Roger, great friend, and I also played in the band. So we ran down to the end of the field as soon as the whistle blew for halftime.
This is incredible.
We take off our helmet, we take off our shoulder pads, we put on band pants, band uniform
like
pants.
You need those.
Yes, over our football pants.
Oh my God.
We put on the band jacket, the overlay, the hat, and spats on our cleats.
Oh my God.
You know the snap-on spats,
I
remember
know.
those?
Yes.
And we'd go out and do the halftime show. Then we come, I played drums, Dan was sax, and Roger was trombone. And we'd, after the show, we'd put all the football stuff back on and go out and usually it was the assistant coach that said, okay, here's what we talked about. Here's the changes we want to make right before we went out. again and played the second half.
This has explained more to me about your status as a multi-tiered talent than any other story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Okay,
but did you play football in high school?
No, I played soccer, right? I was all about, I played basketball too, but I was really more about soccer.
Yeah.
I got to go to a Pepsi training camp for soccer. Tulsa had a professional team for a short period of time, the Tulsa Roughnecks in the old NASL.
Nice.
And the New York Cosmos came to play, and Pele was playing
Oh my
for the
God.
New York Cosmos.
Oh my God.
And I got to trade a header with Pele.
Did you
in
really?
this Pepsi clinic?
That's huge.
So that was the height of my soccer experience.
I too played basketball and, of course, Little League and baseball. 1 year.
Yes.
It was my sophomore year. I decided I'm going to go out for track and field.
Oh.
Okay, because kind of keep in shape.
Sure.
For, it's because there's a lot of downtime in between sports, and so I went out for track and field.
Okay,
and
that's
I lasted, Trey. I lasted just under 3 weeks.
Why?
Apparently, in track and field, there's a lot of running, and I'm cool on a football field running, but just like constant long distance running.
No,
and it just wasn't for me. There's a great comedian that talks about how he was getting into exercise, and his trainer said, you really should do some cardio and run. And he goes, "Do you realize that running is the only thing you can do where from start to finish your brain is going, stop this right now! Just stop it!" And that's true. That's kind of what it was for me.
It's the way it feels for me. I could never do the track and field thing. And to this day, probably, I'm not sure I could run from here to the end of the block unless there was a bear chasing me. But the thing that's interesting to me about running, it's a pretty singular sport. Even if you're racing other people, you're still pretty much solely reliant on yourself to cross that finish line. But
that was one of the things I didn't like about it too. And the long distance running, just like I had a lot of time just thinking,
and that's never healthy.
With my thoughts,
that's not a good place to be. But that doesn't mean that running is necessarily selfish, right?
Of course not.
In fact, there are some runners who have done great things by running for a cause that is much greater than themselves. Do you remember Terry Fox?
Oh yeah, Canadian.
Yes,
He's
this incredible
Canadian
distance runner. He was also a basketball player, by the way. But more than that, he was a humanitarian and an activist who, back in 1980, I think it was, he had a leg amputated due to cancer, and he decided to embark on this unbelievable east to west run across Canada to raise money and awareness for cancer research, right? And he did those things, but more importantly, he inspired literally millions of people around the globe before he then finally sadly succumbed to his disease like a year later.
Yeah, it would be really great if we could talk to someone that he inspired. If we could only had a thought of this ahead of time.
Well, maybe we did.
A guy that
maybe
was inspired
just maybe when we get back, we're going to meet somebody who was not only inspired by Terry Fox, but has also just successfully managed to follow in his footsteps in all kinds of amazing ways. So do us a favor. Don't run away.
Ooh. We'll be right back after I chastise him.
Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck.
Thank you for coming back, everyone. It is time to talk to our guest.
Yes, and his name is Ryan Keeping. Ryan Keeping is a Canadian ultra-marathoner, because apparently being just a marathoner isn't enough.
It really doesn't need the word ultra. I had to look up ultra-marathoner because I'd never heard that term before.
Yes, but
just marathon is enough.
You'd think, but Ryan has just successfully devoted himself, get this, to running across the entire nation of Canada from St. John's, Newfoundland,
Uh-huh.
all the way to Victoria, British Columbia. I don't know if I'm pointing in the right directions. Probably not.
7,386 kilometers, which if you're too stupid like me to know how to do metric things, that's 4,589.45 miles.
All of this to raise funds and awareness for the Heart and Stroke Foundation, but that's not all. He also challenged himself to do it in less than 100 days. And that means, and I'm going to go ahead and do the metrics math for us, that means he had to run 47 miles a day for 99 days straight.
99 days.
Which completely pushes the envelope of human endurance.
And it was the challenge he brought on himself. It's his fault.
Yes.
Why did I say 99? Why? Under 100? Why did I do that? Well, we're going to find out right now. With us
Yes.
is Ryan Keeping,
Yes.
ultra marathoner. Ryan, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. How's it going today, guys?
It's going fantastic, except that we don't feel worthy to actually speak with you.
You mentioned that he did all this for an amazing cause.
Yeah.
His goal when he started this idea was to raise $100,000.
Oh, well, that's not easy.
That is amazing. But he didn't get $100,000.
Oh.
He got $250,000.
Holy cow.
Because all of Canada, his team was saying it's like the whole country is behind us on this, and coverage everywhere he went. It's just amazing.
Well, can we just stop back for a second, Ryan, and can you explain to us, idiot Americans, what if I look up ultramarathoner in the dictionary, I feel like it's going to be synonymous with like ultramasochist, but can you give us a good definition of what an ultramarathoner really is?
Yeah, well, really, I like to say anything. There's a debate about this kind of like some people would say it's anything over a marathon, and some people would say like a 50K.
Okay.
I always say it's technically anything over a marathon. I would consider an ultra marathon. And I mean, 2 years ago, I had no idea what the sport was either, right? So I didn't even really run 2 years ago. It's crazy how you find this community. Yeah, I started running. I mean, I played hockey and stuff when I was a kid, so I could always run like a 10K or something. But I never did a marathon until, probably 2 years ago. And I think I did my first ultra like a year and a half ago. And then you just find this crazy community and you just keep pushing your limits. It's crazy.
So how did you come up with this idea? And what brought you into wanting to do such a special thing?
Yeah, so kind of for as long as I can remember, I was always pretty obsessed with like pushing my limits, especially physically. And I kind of found like, well, once you're, I don't know, into your 20s, you're kind of out of team sports. Like I played hockey and stuff like that when I was a kid, but I was kind of looking for something else. And I don't even know, like, I think one day I was just probably having like a rough day and I just decided to go for a run. And one thing led to another. And I remember like I did my first 50 and I think like 3 days later I did a 60 and like 4 days later I did a 70K and I just kept pushing it. And like, the interesting thing was you'd finish like your longest run ever. I'd do my first 50 and I'd be like, could I have kept going?
Really?
And the thing is you can always keep going, right? So
no, not me.
Yeah, that assumes that I can actually start.
Yeah. No, it's just consistency. Like one thing led to another. And I remember I did my first ultra marathon. I actually went down to the States and I did the JFK 50. So that's a 50 miler and I wore a Terry Fox shirt.
Sure.
And I was kind of surprised that I found anyone that was like 40 and older knew who Terry was. And they'd be like, oh, I love your shirt. But I found a lot of people my age. I had people saying like, oh, who's that on your shirt?
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of how originally I had the idea. I'm like, obviously in Canada, Terry Fox is a hero and everyone knows him.
Right.
But through social media, I had the idea of I could do this run, kind of recreate his run and just talk about him and put it to an audience all over the world so people know who Terry Fox is, because I believe he's the greatest Canadian of all time and what he did. And he was only 21 years old when he was doing it, right, with all the adversity. So I just want to make sure he's not forgot.
And why the Heart and Stroke Foundation? Why did you pick that specifically?
So when I was starting this, I was thinking, well, maybe I could raise money for cancer, kind of similar to what Terry did. But luckily in my family, no one has really been affected by cancer. Like nobody, like, not too many people. But the problem is everyone in my family has heart disease. So we don't really live long enough to have cancer, right? So I started thinking, I was like, well, that ties into that's my why, right? So I had like my dad was driving the van the whole time for those 99 days and he has a heart condition. Same thing with my grandfather and I have multiple other members of my family. So I just picked the Heart and Stroke Foundation and ran with it.
I think I was reading that you've also got family members that have tested positive for the gene that causes heart disease. So this is definitely something that you guys carry as a family.
Well, and again, I want to put this into perspective. Running across the country, you had to make that under 100 days, you had to do 75 kilometers, which, as Trey said, is 47 miles a day. Now, think of this, people. It's like running 2 Boston marathons every day for 99 days in a row.
And your run was not sponsored in any way, was it?
No. So the crazy thing with this is like, I quit my job. I took out a line of credit. I bought a van. At the beginning, I didn't really even have anyone that was going to come with me other than my dad for Newfoundland. And we just took off. And luckily I got through Newfoundland. It started exploding. I went from probably 10,000 followers on Instagram to like, I don't know, 40, 50,000 within the first couple weeks.
Sure.
And then, luckily I got my dad to stay on the whole time, and ended up bringing my camera guy, Josh Pinfold. I brought him with me. So I had my whole team with me. But at the beginning, it was like, my plan was I was just going to run. And if there was nobody there with me, I'd run probably 10 kilometers ahead, 10 back, and move the van.
Right.
But I kind of knew I just had to get this started. If I got it started, I knew that it would pick up some momentum. And once it picked up momentum, the whole country came behind it. It was crazy. Everywhere I went, there was people running with me and people sending me messages. And it was pretty crazy, the support.
I want to talk about that because you say that some of the most memorable moments for you in this adventure were the big cities where you would encourage others to run with you. How did you do that?
Yeah, so I had never really, like, there's been a lot of people run across countries, but I'd never really seen it done where every big city I went to, what I would do is I would run 70 kilometers, and then the last 5K of my day, I would pick like a park or just some area downtown.
Okay.
And I'd get a huge group run. So I'd promote it for like all weeks and weeks leading up to it. And it was crazy. Like in Toronto, I think we had 1,000 people. In Calgary, we had like 600. My hometown, Halifax, we had like 400. So we were doing these huge group runs. And that was awesome because so many people come, so many people start following you from that. And then you raise more money.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a great idea to do, and people seem to love it. So yeah, it was awesome. And it's just a great way to meet all these people.
Of course, and inspire people and be inspired by those people. Now, let me ask you this, because Canada is just one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. When you're making that run across, had you already previously traveled across a lot of your country?
No.
Okay.
The farthest west I'd ever been was like Ontario. So
okay.
Everything out west was all new for me.
All right. So you're seeing a lot of it for the first time. What are some of the memories that stick with you of just some of the most beautiful things that you saw along the way?
Oh, it'd probably have to be out west, like the Rocky Mountains and stuff.
Yeah,
but it's kind of weird when I'm doing this. Like, it's probably 12 to 14 hours a day of running was what it was normally taking me. Plus my breaks, plus the time to drive to a hotel and do this and do that and media obligations. So it's weird. Like, you don't truly get to appreciate it. Like, I know, like, there were some spots, like we went to like Lake Louise and I was there for 5 minutes. We did a video and I was back on the road. Yeah. So it's a crazy way to see the country, but yeah, it definitely makes me want to go back to a bunch of other places in the country and really enjoy it.
What was your daily schedule? Primarily, how many hours did you run before a break or before you had lunch? What did you have for lunch? Meat lovers pizza and a beer.
Yeah. Well, we kind of realized we were a little underprepared on the food. So my daily schedule, I'd wake up around 5. I'd start running at 6 a.m. and really I would do 3 25K runs a day. So I'd be running. Normally my day would probably wrap up around 9 o'clock at night. So we'd take a couple little breaks there. But with the food, like, it was me, my camera guy, my dad in a van, and none of us really know how to cook. And some of the times you're completely in the middle of nowhere. So there was like a 2-week stretch where I basically ate like ravioli and like tuna sandwiches.
Carving up.
Kind of whatever we could. Because it's like, you're 150, 200 kilometers even from like a gas station, right? So you're in the, like, a lot of Canada, when you do this run, you realize there's a lot of nothing. There's a lot of areas of just trees.
When you're on the road doing this, and are you listening to music, or I don't know, say the Be Good Humans podcast, perhaps? What do you do?
I should have been listening to you guys, but
you really should have.
If you want me to be honest, I listen to a lot of Kid Rock. I like Kid Rock.
There you go.
Okay.
So,
I listen to a lot of songs by Kid Rock on repeat over and over and over again.
Do you find it like inspiring? Like get you in the mood to keep running?
It's weird. Like when you do something big like this, you have to have fun with it. Everything you're doing, right? So it's almost like you find some songs and it just hilariously becomes like the theme song of your trip.
Yeah.
So I know like every morning, every night we listen to Picture by Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow.
Okay.
And we'd all sing it. It would be me, my camera guy, my dad,
Love
just
it.
having a good time, right? Just joking around. Because you're half going crazy when you're out there, right? Like I'm running 12 hours a day, right? So,
Yeah.
And that's what I want to ask you about too, is like, I know that like in reading, because I'm always fascinated by these stories of people who push the limits of human endurance. And I remember reading recently a story of a guy who kayaked across the Pacific, right? From Japan to Seattle or whatever. And it always seems to be, there is a point, for him it was the halfway point, where you start to lose yourself a little bit, or you start to feel the pain of what you have gotten yourself into. Now, you're obviously a young and very fit runner, but like, was there ever a point where you were like, can I do this, or am I going to be able to pull this off, or you start to feel this tweak or that pain, or you're losing your mind a little bit?
There was never a point, like from the time I set out to do this, literally from the time I went live on Instagram and said I was going to do it, I knew it was already done.
Wow.
So there was never a point, like the line, people always ask me this. I go, I have supreme self-confidence and I'll get it done at whatever it takes. I knew with 75K, like, say it was a horrible day, I could walk it in 15, 16 hours. So luckily we didn't have any of those days where I had to walk, and every day we got done faster than that time. But yeah, I knew I'd be able to do it for sure. But definitely the mental aspect, like, well, for me, I was lucky because I had people running with me most of the time. So I would imagine it'd be a bit different if like I didn't have a crew or if I was doing this by myself. But I mean, I had my crew with me. And really, like, there was days where we would be in Northern Ontario and someone would drive 12 hours to come run with me, or someone would drive 15 hours. So probably 75% of the time I was with people. So that definitely really helped. It helps you keep sane.
Of course.
Two-pronged question for you, Ryan. What kind of running shoes do you wear? And are you sponsored, honestly, by a major shoe company? Because this is pretty...
So,
why not? You should be.
The thing is, right, when I started, I didn't really have any following. Right. I kind of just set out to do this. A lot of people probably thought I was nuts. I said, I'm going to run across the country. I'm going to raise $100,000. Right. Like, it's all just going to work out. But we don't really have any sponsors currently. But
what a billboard you are, you know?
Yeah. I agree. But really, I've decided in doing this, this is what I want to do with my life. So I want to do the content. I'll run across the States, I run across Canada again. I want to do all the big ultramarathons. So kind of, we're just getting started. And I mean, this really opened a lot of doors.
Do you have a favorite shoe?
To be honest, like right now, I'm wearing Saucony. I was wearing an On Cloud before that, but there's no. I'm still new to running, right? So there's still shoes I'm trying and everything. So.
New to running. I just ran across the country.
Yes.
Well, it was an ongoing joke. We said, like, what's the best way to train to run across the country? You run across the country. So really, for me,
so true.
For me, like, I want to do this again, and when I do it again, we'll have a bigger RV and we'll have a big team.
Yeah.
But for me, this is just trial and error. I just went out there and I knew I could do it, and I went out and did it, and here we are.
Well, when you do it again, maybe Trey and I can join you for the 99-day run.
I would be happy to join you by the side of the road and clap as you run past.
I'll hold your water.
And
at least one day.
Yeah, and I'll be happy to also say, Be Good Humans and Ryan Keeping are sponsored by Saucony.
Right.
Let me just say this, or let me ask you this. Is it true, because I thought this was a kind of cool little bit, is it true that you actually carried water from the Atlantic and poured it into the Pacific?
Yeah. So when we were by the Terry Fox Monument in St. John's, I got my dad to go down. We had a big jar similar to what Terry Fox used, and he filled that up. And then, we kept that in the van. Luckily, we didn't lose it or misplace it or break the glass or anything, but we took it all the way. And if you watch my last YouTube video, it's my dad pouring the water into the ocean. He walked right out in the ocean. It was a super emotional moment. And
right.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Ryan, in a CBC interview, and this is just less than 48 hours after you finished. The first question was, how are you feeling after running for 99 days straight? And your response, I feel amazing. Physically, of course, I'm a little bit sore, maybe. Right. A little bit sore. I get a little bit sore taking out the trash.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
A little bit sore. Maybe. It's the maybe that makes it poetry.
Yeah. No, well, see, I believe everything we say and everything we think is going to come true. So obviously when I'm doing this, well, of course I'm in pain, but when I'm in that moment, I'll never actually admit it.
Okay.
And I just keep moving forward, and I keep being positive and just like, how couldn't I be positive though? You know what I mean? I got kids coming out to see me. I got raising so much money. So yeah, I just don't ever, when I'm done, I can admit, I was in pain, but when I'm doing it, you got to be in that mindset and you just keep going.
Well, that's what I was going to say, too. You're also running for a very important cause, which, again, is the Heart and Stroke Foundation, and $250,000 you have been able to give to that organization. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Heart and Stroke Foundation?
Yeah, and it was actually, I think it's 286,000. I think
Forgive me.
that was the final
Amazing.
number. Yeah, so we had some offline donations. So yeah, we're actually currently making the donation now. But yeah, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, it's great. They have a lot of money going to research, and they're researching for different heart conditions and ways to prevent them and stuff. And yeah, so I was like, my dad's got hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and I know like the Heart and Stroke Foundation, they researched that along with a bunch of other heart conditions. So yeah, just a great organization to give money to. And I mean, I always say the two big ones would be cancer and heart disease, because somebody knows, like in everybody's family, there's someone that's experienced cancer or heart disease. So.
That's right. And that's why, if you're watching or listening right now and you want to know more about the Heart and Stroke Foundation, you should absolutely go to heartandstroke.ca. We're also going to link it on our Be Good Humans podcast site. What's next for you? You hinted at some other ultramarathons, but are you zeroing in on what the next specific challenge is going to be?
So we're kind of just chatting with my team, kind of figuring out our next plays here. But I mean, I'll obviously, I'd love to do all the major marathons. I'd love to do all the major ultra marathons. I'd love to run across other countries. And really, for me, what's next is to just grow the content and try to continue growing my following. Because really, I believe the more people that see my message, the more people I can inspire, the more I can really change the world and just help people get active, or at least just get out and chase down whatever their passion is, right? So,
and the more money you raise. Yeah.
So it's just such a win-win, right? Like, I'm pushing my limits, raising money. So definitely I'm going to be going down to the States. I'll be going over to Europe, and yeah, just growing the content and really just one step at a time and plan a couple big goals.
You quit your job. You decided, I mean, that's just like, I've decided I'm going to quit my job and do this now. That's pretty amazing and brave.
It's my purpose in life to do this. It's as soon as I started doing this, as soon as I started seeing I could actually change people's lives.
Yeah.
And there's so many people around me, like I see them getting into running, or I get messages every day. I'm like, I don't really care about money as long as I have enough money just to get by. And same thing, like, I'm young, I don't have a family, I don't have too many, like, there's no crazy responsibilities for me. So this is the time to do it. And I really believe if I chase this with everything I have inside me, there's no way it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, it started off great with Canada. I mean, just the support that just a groundswell. Like your team said, I mentioned it earlier, they said it was like the whole country was behind you.
Well, you've given the nation of Canada so much to be proud of. You've also greatly honored the spirit of Terry Fox, not to mention how proud I'm sure your family must be of you. You're an absolute inspiration. Your confidence is, quite frankly, infectious. I'm just wondering if you're willing to give me any advice on how I can accomplish running to the mailbox and back.
Well, the best advice I give someone, especially if they're a non-runner or they're trying to get into it, just get out and move. Whether that's a walk, whether that's a run, don't worry about your pace, and really just try to have fun. Like, if you could find somebody to run with, or a run club, or anything, just any ways you can make it actually enjoyable. And same thing, like if you say I don't know, what's your goal, to run a 5K or something, don't worry about the time. Just get out and do it. Once you do it, like, the first time you do anything is gonna be the worst time. You're not gonna be very good at it. Every time you keep going, you'll get better and better and better. And that goes back to the same with me. Like, what's the best way to run across the country? You run across the country, and I'm sure next time I do it, I'll be even better.
So is it a situation like, kind of like working out when you first start, when you're training to walk towards
the mailbox?
When you first start, don't do too much, because it's going to be a real drag for you. And it's like, oh no, I'm not going to do that anymore. You can just kind of little small increments going further and further. Yeah,
I would say for most, like, I'm a hard person to ask, because everything I do, I end up doing too much.
Yeah, of course.
But,
I can tell.
But like, for the average person, yes, just definitely stay within your comfort zone and just make sure you start doing it. Don't overthink it, and just get into it and start moving. And really, you get better the more you do it. And everybody's body's so different too, right? That's why I'll never give really like personal trainer advice. Like, I can give mental toughness coaching or mental toughness advice.
You can.
But everybody's so different. I mean, like, my body clearly can handle this very well, and I think probably some of it's genetics, or genetically I don't really seem to get hurt. I can do this, I can keep pushing, but everybody's so different. You got to listen to your body.
Well, listen, on behalf of my partner, we both thank you so much, and for being on the show, but for what you're doing. it's as the word Trey used was correct. It's so inspiring.
Inspiring in the literal definition of extraordinary. And for our purposes here, you are absolutely a good human. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Ryan. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. That was awesome.
Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck.
Inspired, yes, and also a little exhausted.
Oh my God, yeah.
A combination of that just by listening to that guy.
I'm just thinking about going up and down the stairs outside our studio
right?
here.
Well,
Like, I ache
yeah.
after that. Like, forget it.
I was a little sore, maybe. Maybe.
Exactly.
All right. A reminder, visit our website, begoodhumanspodcast.com.
Please do that, where you can tell us about the good humans in your lives and give us some pointers on how to be good humans. Follow us on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and like and subscribe. If you're watching us right now, just right before you finish, like and subscribe. That would be helpful to us. But
Like or adore. Is there an adore button?
let's just say that
an adore.
adore and subscribe.
Can't get by without these. I
right.
love them.
But most importantly,
Trey is so cute.
most importantly,
Trey's cute.
they get humans.
Be good humans.
Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck.
Be Good Humans is executive produced by Brian Phelps, Trey Calloway, and Grant Anderson, with associate producers Sean Fitzgerald and Clementine Calloway in partnership with Straw Hut Media. Please like, follow, and subscribe, and remember, be good humans.